Hey everyone, welcome to Relatively Refined. My name is Paula. I have a super fun video on tap for you today. We are going to head out and about. We're going to do some blueberry picking. We'll do some thrifting. We'll do some retail shopping, and then we'll head home to get started on a few projects that I'm excited to share with you. All right, let's get going. It's an absolutely beautiful morning out today. So the dogs and I are out for a quick walk, and then I am going to head out to Myers Blueberries and do some blueberry picking. So I'll be bringing you along with me and enjoying this absolutely stunning June morning. Look at that Carolina blue sky. It is so beautiful, and I am enjoying it for sure. Well, on the way to pick blueberries, I had to pass by the Habitat for Humanity Restore, so I thought I would pop in. Now, normally I don't stop there because I think that their prices are outrageous. Our habitats are ridiculous, but I thought I would just maybe give it a second chance. And unfortunately, their prices were still pretty high. I actually really liked that. I think it's an ice bucket. Possibly a glass ice bucket. It was very pretty. I think it was marked $5. Now there's really nothing I need except for I am looking for a mirror for my downstairs powder room. Now clearly there are no mirrors on this shelf, but I can't resist looking at all the pretty little trinkets. I loved this Denby pottery. How beautiful is that? If this had been a teapot, instead of a coffee pot, I probably would have purchased it. But I don't really have a use for one of these small coffee pots. However, it was really pretty. And I think it was $5, maybe $4. I can't remember exactly. Look at this little owl. At first, I wasn't sure what it was, but I believe it is for resting your eyeglasses on. You put your eyeglasses right over his little beak and they rest there on your bedside table at night. Super cute. And then this section was called dust catchers, which is really funny because that's something my grandmother used to say. Then I looked for a long time at this Smeg juicer. It was marked, I can't remember, it was $35 maybe. Normally, I think it's probably $200, but I don't need an electric juicer. I have a little glass juicer that I can use just fine. There's a Cuisinart pan. Again, $25.95. I'm sure that's a fair price, but somebody donated that, and this is Habitat, so I still thought that was very expensive. If it had been $10, I would have purchased that pot right there, or pan, I guess. And then look at this. Now, my sister Patty found one of these at an antique store when she was in New Hampshire one time. It's a little sugar dish. So you put the sugar in that scoop, and then the little tiny scooper is used to scoop the sugar out and into your coffee or tea. I thought it was beautiful. Again, I was tempted, but I don't know what I would do with it. It was so pretty. Pretty green and white teacup there. I loved these beautiful green, white, and gold plates. I thought they would be gorgeous on a Christmas table. I think they were made in Bavaria. Really, really pretty. A little Holly Hobby plastic children's cup was so cute. And then I think these were egg cups. I thought they were really adorable. And for 50 cents, I was tempted. I almost got them. Now, here's a punch bowl. In her last video, my sister Patty talked all about the different uses for punch bowls, and they are at almost every thrift store I ever go in. Here are two right here. I think the most expensive one was $7, and that included the bowl and all of the cups. So if you're curious about different uses for a punch bowl, I will link Patty's video above. Go ahead and take a look at it. She's got some great ideas. Here's another Cuisinart pan. Again, I think this was $25. And then this enamel cast iron pan was really cute. I loved the yellow color. I just actually purchased one to make my sourdough bread in. And these are the Temptations bowls. Very pretty pattern. I loved these green and white teacups and saucers. They had kind of a mid-century look to them. Now, I don't need any more. I just got all those beautiful Emma Bridgewater teacups and coffee cups for Mother's Day for my kids, but I loved the colors on this one and the bold design. And then you know I'm a sucker for blue and white. I think this is the Johnson Brothers coaching scenes. And if there had been more than just one, I probably would have picked them up, but it was just a single plate. And while there are lots of uses for single plates, I just was not really in the mood to pick up one. And then finally, the Cat Who cookbook. If you're a fan of cozy mysteries, then you'll know that Lillian Braun writes the Cat Who Cozy Mysteries. I thought that was a fun cookbook. And then look at all these gorgeous crocheted afghans in every color of the rainbow. They looked so pretty all together. All right, here we are at the blueberry farm. Myers Blueberries in Summerville, South Carolina.
Here's my empty bucket, so we're going to see if we can fill this. Looks like there's some beautiful berries to be had here, so let me get picking before it gets too beastly hot, because it's already in the mid to high 80s right now. Well, I filled my bucket, so it is time to get these blueberries home and do something fun with them. Here we go.
On the way home from picking blueberries, I passed by the French Mercantile, which, as you know, is one of my favorite stores. And as I was walking up to the front door, I saw this beautiful blue hydrangea. Isn't that gorgeous? I really wanted to pick some of those blossoms, but I left it and went back up the stairs and inside. It is always a feast for the eyes at the French Mercantile. I thought these mugs were stunning. You know I love blue and white, so I was immediately drawn to those. They just had some really beautiful things. These little bowls right here with the little blue and white pattern on them. Of course, this gorgeous gingham apron. I love gingham. And that French blue is so pretty. And then they had a whole section for charcuterie boards with all of these different cookbooks, and then this cheese board deck, which gave ideas about different cheese boards to create. I think that would make a great gift for my sister Patty for Christmas. All kinds of beautiful accessories for your table. Cutting boards, serving boards, baskets, and these beautiful linen tea towels. The French Chef Cookbook by Julia Child, a classic, in a beautiful red, white, and blue French flag. And then in those jars are some really pretty aprons. What a clever way to store that. I thought that would make a great Christmas gift. I got lots of ideas for different Christmas gifts from here. All kinds of organic French coffee syrups to make flavored coffees. Some salt. The little salt containers, salt cellars, really cute. And then, of course, all of the different olive oils and vinegars and things. And then here we have some knitted or crocheted hot mitts, I think. I'm not sure if these were they had dishcloths. I think those were actually hot pads or hot mitts. And then my favorite section, the soap section. If you hear something in the background, that is Hazel and Phoebe chewing on their ice. They love ice, and it's a hot day, so it's perfect for them today. All kinds of different soaps, beautiful tote bags. They have a small little patriotic display set up here. I just think everything is so lovely, and their merchandising, of course, is impeccable. Just eye candy everywhere you look. I loved these gingham pillows in that taupe color. I thought those were so pretty. Well, we're home now. The dogs are down there. Let me see if I can show you. Hazel's cooling off on the floor down there. It's very hot here today, so they're just cooling. And Phoebe is, of course, begging for some kind of a treat. But anyway, we're home from thrift shopping, blueberry picking, and a trip to the French Mercantile. And I want to share with you 3 projects that I'm working on right now as Christmas gifts. So they are things that take some time to make or prepare, and I want to get started with them now so that I can give them as gifts at Christmas time. They include a blueberry syrup that can be used in cocktails and coffee drinks. They include homemade vanilla extract, which I have shared before, but I'm going to be making again, and that takes 4 to 6 months to cure before you can give it as a gift. And then also a knitted dishcloth that my grandmother taught me to make. So let's go ahead and get started on our blueberry syrup, which will be the first of the projects that I'm going to share with you. Now, the syrup is easy to make, and actually you keep it in the refrigerator. So I'm going to make a test batch right now, but what I'm going to do in order to prepare it for Christmas is I'm actually going to freeze my blueberries, and then I'll take them out in early December and make this exact same blueberry syrup in December so that it's made with these fresh frozen blueberries. But today I'm going to share with you how to go ahead and make it. And then I'll do the vanilla extract, and then I'll show you the dishcloths. So let me go ahead and get this camera turned around, and we'll get started on our blueberry syrup. And I'm also going to get this one a little treat because she clearly is being very insistent. All right, Phoebe, I'm coming. So what this recipe calls for is 1 cup of water, and distilled water is what I'm using. It did call for distilled water. I'm not sure exactly why, but I'm sure that's to give it a more pure flavor. A cup of sugar, and let me give that a stir. And then 2 cups of fresh blueberries. So it's a 1 to 2 ratio. So I'm going to pour all of that in this very heavy steel-lined copper pot. And I'm going to put that on kind of medium-high and let that come to a boil, stirring frequently so that it does not burn. Here's what it looks like in the pot. And I'm just going to let this heat up, and I'll just keep stirring this occasionally until it comes to a rolling boil. All right, so this is starting to come to a boil. I'm going to keep stirring it so it doesn't burn. And then when it's at a full rolling boil, I'm going to let it boil for 1 minute. Now that it's boiling, I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute and let that boil for 1 minute straight. And then I'll turn the heat down to low and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. This has been simmering for about 5 minutes, so I'm going to turn it off and let it cool for about 45 minutes before I do anything with it because it is extremely hot and it would be dangerous to handle it. So I'm just going to turn it off and let it sit here for about 45 minutes. So this has been cooling for probably 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour it through a fine mesh strainer. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just kind of move the berries from side to side to let that syrup get through the mesh. And you could save the blueberries themselves and put them on a topping, as a topping on something, on ice cream or on top of pancakes or waffles. And I'm just gonna let this syrup drip through. So here we have some really beautiful blueberry syrup, and you can use this, as I said, to make a cocktail with, or to flavor a coffee drink. I think would be delicious. So I'm just gonna pour it into this jar and put that in the fridge, and then it will be ready to use whenever I need it. I could not have been simpler, honestly. Homemade blueberry syrup. And as I said before, what I'm gonna do is freeze my blueberries so that in December, when I wanna make this, I'll just pull my fresh frozen blueberries out of the freezer and I'll have them and they'll be ready to go, and it will be delicious. Such a lovely treat in the middle of December. Making homemade vanilla extract is actually really quite easy. You only need 2 ingredients. You need some alcohol that's at least 100 proof. I'm just using Burnett's vodka. It's not the most expensive vodka. You don't need anything that's expensive. It is 100 proof. You can also use any other kind of alcohol. You can use grain alcohol. You can use, of course, bourbon, rum. It just gives the vanilla a different flavor. I just prefer to use the clear vodka. And then you need some vanilla beans. And I'm using these organic Madagascar vanilla beans that I bought off of Amazon. And I will link those for you in the description box of the video. And then you're simply going to combine the 2 items and then let them sit. I think it's best to let it sit for a minimum of 4 months. I prefer 6, which is why I am making this vanilla now, so that I can give it for Christmas gifts in December. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my knife and split these vanilla beans right down the center. And that kind of opens them up and lets the little seeds out. So you can see I've split it down the center. I'm not going to scrape out these vanilla seeds. I'm going to let those seep into the alcohol, and that's what's going to give it the vanilla flavor. So I'll continue to kind of score these beans down the center and then put them in the jar. I'm using ball jars. I've done it before where I've made it in the individual containers that I'm going to give the gift in, but I thought this time what I would do is just put it in these ball jars and let it sit, and then I'll decant it from these larger jars into the little containers that I'll put it in for gift giving. And I'm going to sort of divide these in half. There are supposed to be 50 vanilla beans in that package. So it's 2 to 3 vanilla beans per half cup of alcohol. And so these are quart jars. So that's 4 cups, 8 half cups, about 24 or 25 beans, which is exactly perfect. So I'll put half of the beans in one jar and half in the other. That worked out perfectly. Oops. Now I do have another video where I showed how I made it in individual jars rather than decanting it. And if I can find that video, I will link that for you. But this makes a great Christmas gift. I gave a jar to each of my sisters, and my mom would like one, and they all really, really enjoyed the vanilla. Both my sisters did. Said it was delicious. And I've used it in my own baking. And it's pretty cost effective. The vanilla beans, I forget exactly how much they were, maybe $10 or $12 or so, if I'm remembering correctly. And then the vodka itself was about $22. So, for about $35 or so, I'm going to get 2 quarts of vanilla, which is a great deal, because you can pay
$7, $8, $10 for those little tiny jars that you get at the grocery store. All right, let me just count this off and see. There's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. All right, so I'll just continue to do this. And then once I get these jars filled, I will show you how to put the vodka in, which is just simply pouring it in. Actually, there's not much to show you. I'm just going to fill the jars with the vodka so that the beans are completely submerged. I think it's such a nice thing to give at Christmas time because, you know, during the holidays, people do a lot of baking. So I try to give it early, like maybe around Thanksgiving. That way, you know, people will have it to do their holiday baking with, and it makes a really lovely gift. You can pair it with a set of measuring cups or measuring spoons, and I think it would make a fantastic Christmas gift. So I'm just going to finish doing this, and I'll be back with you when I've finished slicing up all these vanilla beans. So I have the beans in these jars, and I'm just simply going to pour the vodka over them until the beans are completely submerged. So I'll fill these jars up. And like I said, you do not have to use the world's best vodka. In fact, what you really are more concerned about is the proof of it. This is 100 proof. There's that. And let's hopefully we have enough to cover these beans. Fill that right up. Fill this up. Just make sure what you want to do is really ensure that the beans are completely submerged. All right, they are submerged. So all I'm going to do is put the top on these jars. And these plastic lids are fantastic. I get them at Walmart, and they come in the wide mouth and then the regular size. So we're just going to shake this up, and I'm going to put it in my pantry in a cool, dark place and let it sit for several months. And then by December, we'll have pure vanilla extract.
So a while back, my mom gave me a fabric bookmark that looked like this. And she had gotten it at a craft fair. And I thought it was so cute that I wanted to try my hand at making some. So I went online to look for a pattern. And let me show you how I did it. I started out by cutting 4-inch squares out of 2 contrasting fabrics. I happen to have a little owl patterned fabric, and then the other fabric that I had was a green and white polka dotted fabric. They looked very cute together. I'm just using my rotary cutter and my cutting mat to cut out 4-inch squares from these 2 fabrics. For each bookmark, you'll need 3 4-inch squares of fabric, 2 of one color and then 1 of the contrasting color. And here you can see all of my squares that I've cut out. The next thing that you want to do is to get some fusible interfacing that's, you know, you can iron on. It's sort of heat sealed, and you're going to cut out some 3.5-inch squares from the interfacing. You'll need 2 3.5-inch squares for each bookmark. So 3 4-inch squares of fabric, 2 of one fabric, 1 of another, and then 2 3.5-inch squares of the fusible interfacing. So I'm just, again, using my rotary cutter and cutting mat to cut out my interfacing squares. Once I've got all my squares cut out, I'm going to go over to my ironing board and iron those squares together. Here I'm showing you the 2 fusible 3.5-inch squares. What you're going to do is you're going to iron on the interfacing to the wrong side of one of your fabric squares. This is the contrasting square, I believe. I can't remember now. Yeah, I think I made the main body of the bookmark the green and white polka dot, and then I used this owl fabric as the little triangle piece that fits over the corner of your book. So anyway, I'm ironing this fusible interfacing to the wrong side of one of the squares of fabric. And I'm going to do that. I'm doing this for 2 of them because I made 2 bookmarks. And then once that's fused, I'm going to take the interfacing and then iron it to the wrong side of one of the contrasting fabrics. So what you'll have for each bookmark are 2 4-inch squares of one kind of fabric, with one of them having the interfacing fused to the wrong side. And then you'll have a 3rd square of a contrasting fabric, which also has the interfacing fused to the wrong side. Now with the contrasting fabric, what you're going to do is you're going to fold it in half into a triangle, just like I'm doing here, with the wrong sides together, and then iron that flat. This is going to form the little corner that will fit over the corner of your book and hold your place. So I'm just making sure that that is nice and smooth. So the way to assemble it is you're going to put one of the squares of fabric right side up and then place your contrasting triangle across that, and then place the other square that doesn't have the fusible lining on it over top, right sides facing of the 2 main fabrics. And then you sandwich that together and pin it. So you have your triangle of the contrasting fabric sandwiched in between the 2 right sides of your main body fabric. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sew all around the edges of that bookmark, leaving a small space that's not sewed so that you can turn it right side out. Here's another one that I'm assembling. So I've got right side up, fusible fabric side down, your triangle sandwiched in between the 2 right sides. And then I will pin that together, making sure that the edges are evenly matched. Now, once I've sewed all the way around the edges of it, leaving a small opening, I'm going to go through and snip off any threads, so it's still wrong side out. And then I'm going to take my shears and I'm going to trim the corners at an angle so that they're not so bulky when you turn it right side out. So you'll see me in just a minute. Here's the opening that I left, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip off the corners at an angle, making sure not to cut the sewing. You don't want to cut it so close that you're actually going to open that up, but you're just eliminating some of the bulk at the corners. And once you've done that, you're going to just find the opening that's not sewed shut and turn your whole bookmark right side out. Okay, here it is right side out, and it still has the opening. What I like to do is take a chopstick and kind of push out the corners to make them a little crisper. And then what I need to do now is to sew shut that opening. And so what I do is I sew all along the edge of the green polka dotted on both sides. I have sewn all the way around the whole square, and you can do that as well. And here I'm showing you the finished product. I think they're so adorable. I love how they turned out. Perfect for the book lover on your Christmas list. And here's how they work. They just simply slide over the corner of your page. That way you don't have to dog-ear them, which school librarians fuss about every year. And how cute is that? It's perfect. And now let's make a knitted dishcloth.
Here's where I am on one of those dishcloths. I'm now on the decreasing part of it. It's 2 stitches essentially. You increase, you start with 4 stitches on your needle, increase till you get 44 stitches, and then you decrease until you have 5. And it's a knit stitch. There's absolutely no purling in this. Now, ironically, my mother hates these dishcloths. My grandmother used to make them, and I love them. But for whatever reason, she doesn't like the dishcloth. So I will not be making one for her, but I do love them, and I know my sisters really like them. So I will be making those for my sisters, and maybe I will include some really fun soap or something with them as well. But these are really easy to make, very kind of mindless knitting. You can watch a show. It's an easy stitch, and I absolutely love to knit. So this is a wonderful pastime. So I am going to be making several of these to give as gifts this Christmas. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to link a couple of videos up here and here for you and in the description box that are summer related. They're videos that we've made in previous summers that you may or may not have seen and might give you some inspiration. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope it did inspire you to get a jump start on your holiday crafting and projects. It really does help me feel a lot less stressed when the season rolls around. My Grandma Bunny always used to make her projects throughout the year. She would get started for the next Christmas almost as soon as the previous one had ended. I think she took January and part of February off, but come March, she started right back in with her sewing and crafting and project making for the upcoming holiday. And I try to do the same. All right, take care, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.